Hey there guys, and welcome to this episode number 5 of the Your Progress is Our Passion podcast with me, Dave Cottrell. I figured that 5 episodes in is a pretty good time to sort of talk about a little bit more about myself, a little bit about my backstory, how I got into coaching, how I kind of came towards the position in my life where I am now of running a podcast, and why I talk about the things that I talk about. The background, if you're watching the video version of this, is a load of books and stuff. If you're not watching the video version of this, anyway, there's a load of books and stuff. And I think this represents quite an important part of my past, in the fact that I once kind of had the very strong belief that knowledge is power. I love to learn things. I love to learn different languages and different philosophies, different areas of self-improvement and things like that. And that kind of represents where I've come from to where I am now, which is that knowledge is only potential power. It's what you do with that knowledge. It's the application of the implementation of the things that you know, what you actually use all that stuff for, which is kind of where my belief system is now, is that's where the importance is in the actions that we take. So, to go way into my backstory, it's, I guess, my battle with mental health came before my battle with physical health, both of which I would say started during my teenage years. Being the little kind of book nerd that I am, I went to a very, very bad school in Liverpool. It's so bad that it's not even there anymore. They've knocked it down. And I was picked on because I knew the answers to questions. I exhibited the abilities of being quite smart. So I was picked on there for that, and my response to that bullying was food. It was something that I enjoyed. I got that momentary pleasure from food. So at the age of probably about 12 or 13, early stages of high school, I already developed a sort of binge eating problem. By the age of 14, I was first seen to by the doctors regarding my mental health, at the time referred to as manic depressive, later on now referred to as bipolar, of which I've got type 2 bipolar, which is thankfully the less severe of the two. And then that just basically led me to a teenage year of binge eating and mood swings, being quite miserable a lot of the time. Still kind of focusing on my studies until the final year of high school, when I moved away from Liverpool. I moved up to Southport, which is kind of where I'm based now, and at the time I had a shaved head and a Scouse accent, which meant that the bullies in that school didn't want to even come anywhere near me. And at that period I was able to kind of like finally start making a decent group of friends, but I was already very much into the kind of way of doing things of which I would always manage my emotions with food, or at least try to manage my emotions with food. So if I did something good, reward myself with food. If something bad happened, make myself feel better with food. And I got to the point that I'd stopped growing up and started growing out. So I was, the high sort of teens of stone whilst I was a teenager, so about 18, 19 stone, around there. Then I kind of settled into like my first relationship, and then just basically kind of let myself go even more from there. Just moved less. At the age of 17, I got a car, so even the little amount of walking I did then, I wasn't ever picked for sports because I was put in goal. So I was not really the most athletic child. Not a lot of natural ability in sports, really. Everything that I've achieved in sports since then, it's been a long, hard slog to do so. And, throughout my 20s, I just kind of masked this kind of how I was feeling, kind of bottled it up, didn't really talk about it too much. And basically that led on to me, I would say, ruining my first marriage. Because I had absolutely zero self-esteem, I couldn't be loved by anybody else because I didn't love myself. It sounds a bit of a cliche, the whole learning to love yourself first thing, but it's so true. Why would someone else value you if you don't even have any value in yourself? And it's not that I wasn't valued, I just was unable to see the value that other people had in me. I couldn't, even when someone did love me, I couldn't understand why. And then after I broke up from my first marriage, that was when I took control of my physical state. Now, my sort of rock bottom wasn't wasn't like that kind of thing. It was, as if you heard the story before, a friend of mine made a bet with me. He was a couple of stone overweight. I, at this point, was 23 stone. So, according to the government, I'm like 10 stone overweight, but we don't work with BMI. And from there, he made a bet with me to see who could lose the most weight over the next year. And I looked on this in a very positive way. Instead of thinking like, oh my God, I'm in such bad shape, what can I do? I was like, all right, I'm in terrible shape. And if this bet is to see who can make the biggest improvement, well, I'm a shoo-in. I've got there's more opportunity for me to make an improvement than there was for my friend at the time. He could shed a couple of stone, but I had the real potential to kind of be one of these amazing before and afters, which a lot of people now do actually see me as. In the end, I dropped down from 23 stone at my heaviest to under 14 stone at my lightest. And I found some self-esteem, some happiness, some sort of level of more self-love throughout all of that, but I was never really happy at my lightest either, not truly. And that was when I actually, after the change through that, I decided to get into coaching physically. And coaching people physically, then I wanted to help them achieve those levels of success that I did. Now, in order to actually get to there, I went through several fad diets, used several pieces of questionable exercise equipment, did a lot of running, a lot of swimming on an empty stomach often. I'd go and swim for an hour and then replenish it that with having a few slices of turkey, and that was like my idea of nutrition at the time. It was essentially lots and lots of movement and practically starvation. That was how I lost the first 5-6 stone where I went down to 17 stone, and then I plateaued around there, still not happy with my body. And then I had to learn a bit more and apply a bit more to get those last 3 stone off, and that was when I started learning more about like nourishing the body through food, not restricting it. That was how I learned exercises that build you up rather than break you down. And I just wanted to help other people to make that transition, to make that journey without going through all of those pitfalls themselves. So I decided to get into coaching. Coaching I absolutely love. I've been doing that for just coming up to 3 years now. And physically coaching I love, and I love working with people who have got... Well, I like working at kind of both ends of the spectrum really, because I really nerd out on it. I like working with someone who's kind of coming from thinking that they can't do anything, like sofa to whatever it may be, and helping that person learn things, learn the techniques. Like, my squat forms only just started getting good in the last few years. To have someone who's never squatted before and like have them learning that form from day one I just love that opportunity. But then at the same time, I love getting in there with people who've already kind of accomplished quite a lot, and then showing different ways to kind of take that even further. I really just enjoy working in those different capacities, really. And then I found that my biggest change in my mental health then came because of helping other people. It was better than just what I got off the exercise and nutrition myself. The better my exercise and the better my nutrition got, the better my mental health got for sure, the better my sleep got. All of these things, there was such a huge improvement, and I just really wanted to pass this improvement and this way of living on to other people. But then a great thing happened once I started coaching is I found that my mental health was suddenly the most under control it's ever been. And I think it was that finally getting out of my own head and thinking about other people's problems and working through them allowed me to kind of get maybe a unique perspective on my own, but it also let me feel like I had a purpose, which was something that in the past I'd never really felt. And from there it just carried on, and I started a nutrition degree. Now, on the nutrition degree, all I ever wanted to do was give a higher level of service, because I've been to the odd bad PT. I've seen many bad trainers, bad advice, a lot of that out there, and I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be the person who got his qualification and that was it. And just thought, I'm ready now. As far as I'm concerned, yes, you're as ready as ever, but it's continued growth, continued development is a huge key part of this. If there's the person that turns around and says, "No, I'm done," or I've got nothing left to learn," I think that's the person that's really going to be losing and missing out on the opportunities to actually grow and to become a better version of themselves. So I booked in with several of the really high-class PTs, Dan Wheeler, Ben Coomber, Phil Lerney, and Ollie Foster. I went and worked with all of these guys. John Clark at Fit 360. I worked with these guys either face-to-face or via or online, and learnt the skills, picked up some more of the extra skills that they had in business, in sort of anatomy and physiology, in exercise selection, in all of these sorts of areas. And then the degree came as a logical step after that. I did the body type nutrition course and got the diploma from that, and that kind of gave me a great amount of nutrition knowledge. But what I wanted was something more than that. So I took on the degree, which I've actually now left because it wasn't giving me what I wanted, but it did give me something else. On that degree, we did a coaching in terms of mindset coaching course, and I had a lot of really good early success with that, to the point that the assessors and the examiners and even the other people on the course were just saying that I was a natural at it. Now, I personally think that the mind is something that I've been fascinated with my entire life. With getting diagnosed with a mental illness at such a young age, you can't not become sort of interested in the mind and how to make things better, because otherwise you're going to be pretty much living in hell half of the time. So I think that my natural ability came from the fact that I've been on the receiving end of various therapies, of mindfulness, of cognitive behavioural therapy, of neuro-linguistic programming. I've been on the receiving end of a lot of these things, and I've just obviously absorbed it and picked it up over time. But I became hugely passionate about that, because the idea of what you can do if you can help change someone's mindset, these are the real reasons why we fail so many times on diets or on exercise plans, or why my business in the past failed, why my marriage in the past failed. All of these things come down to the mindset, and to that is the kind of gateway to everything. And even just some of the practices we were doing, and I was having the techniques and that done on myself, I was seeing firsthand just the massive impact and the massive, amount of importance that this could have in my life, or could have in the lives of clients. So I was midway through, practically at the end of writing a nutrition seminar, and I decided, no, I don't want to do the nutrition seminar anymore. There's so much noise out there in nutrition. Nutrition's becoming one of the most confusing topics in the world, because people are like, oh, okay, we should eat fruit, but we don't want to eat fruit because fruit's got sugar in it and sugar's bad, and there's so many conflicting opinions out there. I just didn't want to be another voice in that area at this time. It's something I probably will do, in the future. But at this time, I thought I just didn't want to be in amongst all that noise. And not enough people were talking about mindset and how just, starting by loving yourself, or changing negative beliefs, or knowing how to change your emotional state at the drop of a hat. All of these things, and having control over your emotional state without resorting to food. All of these things could have such a massive impact on absolutely every other area in your life. How to deal with difficult relationships through changing your input to the relationship, not by expecting the other person to change. And so I decided, so that was how I then launched into the seminar space, is by working in the mindset field. And it was just amazing. I've had such a great response with that. I've done 8 seminars over the last 10 months now. And it's just been extremely well received. I can't wait to do more of them. And it's an area I definitely want to see myself moving more into in the future. I love kind of that sort of long form, as I've probably already gone on quite a bit on this. I like to talk, so it's a good situation for me to be in, and it's a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. So that's kind of up to date where we are now. I decided to launch the podcast because I wanted more avenues to help people with free information. A big thing for me is giving back, is giving things out for free, is giving that option of like, yes, the PT stuff and the mindset stuff that is paid for pays my bills, but I want to kind of work with as many people as possible. And I think free stuff like this, like the podcast, like free advice here, and as well as that, I run a circuit for people with poor mental health, which I run for free as well. It's like big giving back is a huge thing for me. I feel like I've had like quite a lucky life, really. I've never, we come from a very poor background when I was very young, and my mum had some great success with her business, which allowed us to get out of Liverpool and ultimately live the sort of the quality of life that I've lived since. So I feel like I've been extremely lucky. So I just want to give back. Outside of the professional stuff, I am probably the world's least enthusiastic Liverpool FC supporter, if that puts half of you off the podcast. Grew up in Anfield, and I wasn't choosing Everton, so Liverpool it had to be. I say least enthusiastic because I see football as a kind of social thing, and I've not got a group of friends that like to watch the match right now, so therefore I don't. So that you could call me like a very, very lazy supporter. I'm a father of two. I've got two boys at the time of recording this. They are 12 and 10, Sam and Joe. Absolute legends, the pair of them, so extremely different from one another. Despite loving fitness, I also absolutely adore food. I could still eat like the 23 stone behemoth I used to be. I also, again, these might sound contradictory, but I love trying different beers. I love craft beer. I love rum. I don't particularly like to drink to excess anymore, but I love like the experience of trying out a new rum or trying out a new beer. I love kind of working my way through stuff like that. I play quite a lot of musical instruments: guitar, bass, drums, piano. Used to sing. If you do enough digging on me, you will find music up on the internet. And used to write poetry, still sort of technically do. If you listened 2 episodes ago to the You Are Enough, that is the kind of thing I like to do. I like to still use that creative outlet to write things like that, to write emotive pieces. I have a dog. He's a Labrador. His name's Digby. He's awesome. I have a wife called Alona. She's way more fit than I am, and she trains like in bodybuilding style, and yeah, she's a very hard-working woman. A lot of respect for her. And that's about it. So this was just a chance for you guys to get to know me a little bit better, because you've listened to 4 episodes so far, hopefully, and I'd like to think that you're going to be with me for many, many years to come. So you may as well know who you're hanging out with every Wednesday. So yeah, this one, it should be roughly, when this one goes up, it's going to be the beginning of October 2017. If you are speaking to anyone in the future, further down the line, who's come back and to the podcast, welcome. It's been a while. And next week, I can't remember who I've got scheduled, but it's another interview next week. So be sure to check in for that. I would love for you guys to kind of like share this, to write us a review on iTunes, or I can't remember the name of the Android app we use. It's not Stitcher, it's the other one. It's the people that host my podcast for me. And yeah, thanks again for listening. I hope I haven't rambled on too long. I have a tendency to do that. And I will catch you all with my next interview next week, and then on my own again in 2 weeks' time. See you soon, guys. Bye.